The volatility in the price and supply of petrol right here in Nigeria may be far from over. But earlier this week, the management of Dangote Group confirmed the temporary suspension of sales of petroleum products in Naira. So what is the outlook for domestic petrol price and supply for the second quarter of this year? To shed more light on this, Babajide Ogunsanwo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst, is here to give us maybe more intelligence about the state of crude oil and fuel in Nigeria. Thank you very much, Babajide, for joining us on the news at 10.
Good evening.
Fuel, I mean, that concerns everyone. But the management of Dangote have already given reasons why they have decided to suspend selling petrol in Naira. Does this mean that petrol price is about to go up? Because that is a concern of every Nigerian.
This means there's still uncertainty, and when there's uncertainty, and our best case scenario will be prices will stay stable. So this means uncertainty, and the evidence shows that whenever there's uncertainty, the best case scenario will be prices will stay stable. But there are two other things that I think we probably should talk about tonight. The first is for the NNPC, and the second is for the Dangote refinery. Now, for the NNPC, right? NNPC right now seems to be the custodian of the most sacred text, manuscript in the world, and that is how much petrol has been imported into Nigeria in the last 6 months. Those texts, so sacred, is a mystery. No one actually has the right figures. Why? Now, for the Dangote refinery, the evidence, and a lot of people have said that it seems that the Dangote refinery is pumping out more press releases than it is pumping out petrol. Let's take a look at some of this evidence. Since the president mediated last year, September, we've seen press releases almost every 30 days. January 19th this year, we saw that official statement talking about the need to clarify the ex-depot price and why the prices were still going to be going up. According to their press release, 19th of January this year, the Dangote refinery said crude oil remained the primary input in the production of PMS, and any fluctuation in its international price inevitably impacts the cost of the finished product. Now, that statement was the 19th of January. Clearly, the Dangote refinery and its management were saying crude oil prices significantly influences the petrol price it will send to those that will come to the depot to pick up. What has happened this week, March 19th, the Dangote refinery, another press statement saying that a temporary suspension of sales on petroleum products in Nigeria, more or less saying this decision is necessary, according to the company, for them to avoid a mismatch between its sales proceeds and its crude oil purchase obligations, which it says are currently denominated in dollars. For the common man, what the Dangote refinery's management is saying is that if they will buy crude oil in dollars, then it will be hard for them to sell in Naira. If they keep buying crude oil in Naira, then they probably will still sell in Naira. But above all, there's a lot of press releases, and that's why on the lighter note, people are saying they're pumping out more press releases than they are pumping out petrol.
But if petrol price and probably crude oil price are highly correlated, then what is the price forecast for crude oil in the next 90 days?
So looking at the evidence that we have, the price forecast, especially for the 90 days, will most likely be within the range of $75 to $90, especially looking at what is going on globally. It'll be interesting for us to take a look at what the price has been, the price points, the average price points has been since the president came in the second quarter of 2023. And if we take a look at that, what we'll realize is that 2025, in terms of crude oil pricing, has been the lowest, and which is really not good news for the president. Here's what I mean. In the second quarter of 2023, according to the Central Bank of Nigeria, average crude oil prices $79.68. What happened in the next 5 quarters? You see, quarter 3 2023 to quarter 3 2024. In all of those quarters, average crude oil prices per barrel was above $80 per barrel, and that's why we coded those 5 quarters in green. All those are the quarters where average crude oil prices exceeded $80 per barrel. What has happened since the fourth quarter of last year? Fourth quarter of last year, average crude oil price dropped to $75. Now we're still at $77. And clearly we know the significance of a higher crude oil price on government revenue. So clearly 2025 hasn't been the sort of year that will make the Nigerian government smile.
Now, since we're talking about the Nigerian government, how much progress do you think the government has made with improving crude oil production in the country?
If we look at the evidence which we are about to look at, there is some good news. Let's start with the recent statement from the group CEO of the NNPCL, Mele Kyari.
Yeah.
He's made his statements very clear, and that's his position on the ideas of the NNPCL and not its battles will shape the future of the NNPCL. Now, what is the evidence to back this statement? Let's take a look at Nigeria's crude oil strategy that allows us to understand clearly from the chart of the week perhaps why a lot of competition is going on between the NNPCL and Dangote. Now, these are the facts from the central bank. They've made it clear that in 2023, Nigeria's oil production, average oil production was 1.25 million barrels per day. As at 2023, 65% of this crude oil production was exported. Now look at what happened last year in 2024. 1.33 million barrels average per day, an improvement over 2023. And what did the government do? Exported even more of that crude oil volume. 67% of those crude oil volumes of last year exported. Now, what is the position as at 2025 from the central bank's data? They say average crude oil production this year, 1.5 million barrels, and we are exporting even much more, 70%. So clearly, what is happening is we are producing more crude oil and we're even exporting, in terms of the ratio of what is being produced, we're exporting more. So clearly that seems to be the government's strategy. The government wants to earn more dollars. Yeah. And if we're producing more and exporting more volumes, that clearly means the capacity and the amount of volumes that will be left for local refinery will be limited. So clearly, from the numbers, we can clearly see the direction of the federal government, and we can clearly see why the NNPCL is also taking that position. Let's produce more crude oil volumes, and let's export more of these volumes to get dollars. Now, the real question for the future will be, what will the government do with all of these dollars? All
right. I guess in the course of the year, we'll find out how much will be spent on making Nigeria better. Thank you very much, Babajide Ogunsowo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst, for your interesting conversation.
Thank you, and we'll do this again next week.
We'll do it again next week.